All right, variables. So technically speaking, sorry, this fly is distracting. It's causing Nala all sorts of anxiety. I can't kill it, but we're trying. We're trying. Okay, so a variable. A variable is something that's stored in the computer's memory, and it has a symbolic name, and that name is associated with a value that's stored in the computer's memory. Okay, so let's create a variable. So when you declare a variable, when you give it a name, you can use a word like let, and then my symbolic variable name. It can be anything. So what we've just done is created like an empty box in the computer's memory and slapped that as a name tag over it. But right now there's nothing in it yet. But here it is, let it be. You might see, instead of let, var be how you declare a variable in JavaScript. This was prior to JavaScript ES6, which is the latest release. ES6 introduced another variable scope, and we'll get into this later, and let declares a variable in a smaller, we'll get into this later. For our purposes, if you see var in some code examples, you see let, you can use those interchangeably. I like let because it's like, let it be. Let my symbolic variable name. Okay, so this variable exists. There's nothing in it yet. Let's just assign it a value. Let's say this equals 10. Cool. So now what we have is a variable, so it's like a box in the computer's memory, and it's named my symbolic variable name, so that's the name slapped on the box. And now inside that box is the value 10. So let's use it. Down here in my recently neatly organized code, so all in setup here, we're seeing the draw the bone, the draw the doggo body, all these different functions that I defined in that last video, and here they are down here. You can toggle out and see them. And a couple of them, like the draw the jaw and the draw the tail, take a parameter that is the angle of rotation. So I'm going to go ahead and put my symbolic variable name in there, and now that should rotate the tail by 10 degrees. Yes, success. Cool. So that's how variables work. Now a little thing about scope and assigning them values. So here, this now exists. It's a box in the function, the computer's memory. Let's see what happens if we never assign it a value. Down here, it says rotate was expecting at least argument, but received nothing. So what is going on with this variable now that there is no value associated to it? We can log it to the console and kind of check out what's going on behind the scenes. So a console log. Console.log, this is a function that will write something to this console down here. And right now we want to see what is the value of my symbolic variable name. It is undefined. So we haven't given it any, we haven't assigned it any value. It is undefined. Great. And just a quick thing about, there's so much exciting things to share with you all. I just like it all jumbled up about what order to do it in, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. So scope, that's right. So say my symbolic variable name equals 10. It now has a value assigned. Now in the console right down here, it says 10. What if right now, this variable is getting declared outside of all the functions. It's outside of all the functions. This means it's in global scope and that all of them can access it. But let's say I were to take that out and move it into the draw loop. So there it is getting declared, but it's inside draw. So what is going to happen here? Because here in setup is where we have the console log. Aha! Tried to run it. My symbolic variable name is not defined. So before it just said it was undefined, and this is different. This says it's not defined. This says it doesn't exist in the computer's memory. And the reason that is because it's getting declared here in the draw loop, and this console log can't see that because it's inside setup. Okay, so let's do something different. There are some built-in system variables and some into P5. For example, mouse X. So this is the position of the mouse. So if I were to run this, and let's see what the console.log does, mouse X is 0, and it's not updating. Okay. The reason why is that this console.log is in the setup function. So setup happens just once when the program is initiated. What happens if we move that console.log into the draw loop? Remembering draw is it gets updated every frame. It's an update loop. So I'm going to do that, and now, whoa, you see down here in the console? This is writing the position of my mouse. So I move it across the screen, so now it's big, now it's small, now it's big, now it's small. So this console.log is being called every frame, which is probably 60 frames per second, or it is 60 frames per second. Here we can also console.log mouse Y. So now we're getting two different values. Now this is starting to get kind of confusing. What's mouse X? What's mouse Y? When we're looking at these console.logs, you know, they're alternating one after another. So here's a cool trick. You can kind of log notes to yourself using what's called strings. So strings are a variable type that are contained within quotations, and you can write sentences there. They're a string of letters or numbers. So here we can write mouse X is colon, and then we can string that together with this variable by just hitting an add plus mouse X. So mouse X this is the sentence inside quotations, and then we add it to the actual variable. And here, mouse Y is, and we'll have to do the plus. What did I do? Oh, I made it bigger. Command plus, shift plus. Okay. And so now it here in the console is giving us the full sentence that we wrote right here. And you can add a little space in here because these will just be smashed together right here. There's no space between the colon. Now it looks a little neater. There's other ways to do this. I'll show you later. Oh, there's so many exciting. Just stop. Okay. So when you're doing any kind of animation, things that you want to change over time, you're going to want those to be in the draw loop. So let's see, what would happen if I move this draw dog tail into the draw loop, and change my symbolic variable name, which is actually the rotation, to be the mouse X. Whoa, so the tail is rotating, but also it's just like covering up the whole screen. What's going on? So this dog tail is getting drawn, and it's just getting layered over and over and over everything else because everything else just got drawn once. So I'm going to undo this, and what we will do is just copy all of this and put it all in the draw loop now. And we will be making the draw dog tail that is mouse X. Okay, so now, there we go. Now it's moving with the mouse X, and we kind of want it to wag like this. So it's good that this is logging in the console right now because we can see what are the degrees that looks like a nice good wag. So when the mouse X is around 369, tail's there, and then when it wags back, maybe to there. So 346 to 369 is like a good wag, I think. Let's see, this angle mode degrees actually does not need to be declared every draw loop because that kind of just needs to happen once. And we can put it at the top here once I'm set up. Great. Now, I'm going to get rid of this, my symbolic variable name. I'm going to call it the angle wag. In camel case. So there is let angle wag. And then in the draw loop here, I'm just going to say angle wag equals mouse X. So this is exactly the same as what we just had, except we're now storing mouse X in this variable called angle wag. And so we can replace mouse X right here with angle wag. This is doing exactly the same thing. But what we want to happen is that we want the wag to change just within that range. That was like a good wag with the, when we were looking, what was it, like 269, what was it? 345 to 369 or something like that. So we're going to want to map the mouse position so it just like moves from that range. When I say map, there's actually a P5 function called map. So what map does is it takes a value and it will map that value from one range to another range. Let's look at that one more time. So let value is 25, map that value from that to that. Okay, so we want angle wag, let's see if this works, to be map. I'm going to use the variable mouse X, which is going to normally be in the range of 0 to 400, because 400 is the width of this canvas. So here it is 0, here it is 400. But we want to change that whole 0 to 400 to be from 245 to 269. So now, oops, looks like I had that a little wrong. Was it 345 to 369? Yeah. So now the wag is just within the range of me moving the mouse from one side to another. So what we're going to do is use the audio input from your computer's webcam to create a variable or to tap into a value that's changing dynamically, kind of like the mouse X is as it moves across the screen. and then you can use that to affect different things moving in your code. And to do that, we'll be using the P5 sound library. And it turns out, so if on the P5 main reference page, right up here at the top, can't find what you're looking for, you might want to check out these libraries. And so these are like add-ons to P5. We're going to look at P5 sound. What looks like is what we want. Maybe audio in. You go here. Here is an example. And look, it's already pretty much doing what we want it to do. See that ball bouncing? That ball bounces with, okay, it's bouncing with my voice. Cool. So what do they have here? They have declared a variable named Mike, and they're using var in this example. And then in setup, okay, don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. We'll figure out what this means later on down the line. But basically, they're attaching this variable Mike to an audio in source. And this word new here just means it's creating a new instance of this source. It's a new object. And then they are telling the specific instance of the microphone audio in to start. So they're initializing it. And now we can, ooh, this is bad. This is bad. They never declared this variable micLevel. This should also be declared. This is an example of how JavaScript can be really loosey-goosey, and then you can get away with stuff that you shouldn't get away with. Ooh, this is really bad. Okay, I'm going to pause this and show you why. Okay, so I just copied that code over to the P5 editor so we can play with it. So if you want JavaScript to not be making all these kind of loose assumptions, you can, at the top of your code, type use strict in quotations. And now when you run this, it'll show you some things that you might have wished that you known later. So right here it's telling us uncaught reference area, micLevel is not defined. So they never defined this micLevel thing. So let micLevel, let it exist. Now if we run this again, it should be fine. Cool. Okay. But back to this example. So they have this mic, this is this audio mic, and then this micLevel is a variable that's attached to getting the level of that microphone, and now they can use that. So let's do that. So mic equals, I'm just going to copy this and go over here. So let angle and lag, let mic, and we probably don't even need to do micLevel. We can just pass that in otherwise. So we have mic equals new P5 audio in. And okay, so now angle wag, I am just going to comment this out, and let's have, well actually, why don't we, instead of console.logging the mouse X, let's just see what's going on with that micLevel. So console.log micLevel is, I think it was mic.getLevel or something. What was it? Mic.getLevel. And that getLevel is actually a method, which is a function that is applied to this mic object. So methods are certain types of functions. So it needs to have this parentheses after it. Okay, so now we can see down there that when I'm not saying anything, it's really quiet. Whoops. Okay, so this funny thing just happened when I was trying to test like the range of the micLevel, and I yelled into the microphone and then realized I was totally like yelling at all of you, and it was really rude. So backtrack. And we're trying to figure out the range of this mic level. And we could probably find this in the documentation. But, oh, also this other error down there is because I commented out this angle wag thing. So I'm just going to redo that so I don't have to deal with it. There's the mic level. So I'm pretty sure it goes from 0 to 1. I'm not going to yell to test it right now. So if that goes from 0 to 1, then we can put that mic.getLevel inside our map function. So this is the variable we're mapping. And the mouse was going from 0 to 400. Let's say the mic.getLevel goes from 0 to 1. And hopefully that will include decimals. Let's see. Okay, so that's not doing it. Oh, I'm really sorry if those snaps were loud. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I just keep on forgetting. Oh, but hey, it just wiggled. Did you see that? I thought it wasn't going to do it at the start, and now it's doing it. It's wiggling. Oh, that's cute. Wiggle. Wiggle. Okay, so that's working. We might want to do something, maybe, you could remap it to make it happen bigger, to have more movement. You can use this mic level to make something, change size, scale, other than just this little tiny tail wag. I mean, I think that we gotta amplify it a little more. What if it's in the 0 to 0.1? What if we make it point? I mean, it's not getting that loud because I'm not shouting at you, because I'm not shouting. So what if we make it from 0 to 0.5? So, yeah, that's a little more wag. Even make it smaller. So I'm just narrowing the range of what these mic levels are so that they will have a broader result as far as that mapping scope function. Actually, I just realized I was probably not paying proper attention to these values down here. They really just look like they're going from 0 to 0.1. We do that. Okay, and there's the wag. Oh, right. So other things to notice or to know about these dynamic variables is that you can also use operators to them. So basic arithmetic. So why don't we just store this in a variable like how they did. So we have let micLevel, and then down here we can just attach micLevel to mic.getLevel. Okay, and then we can have the rotation for this top jaw be micLevel, but because this rotation is, similar to how, or the level, similar to how we had to expand it with that map function, we can make it bigger, maybe just making it by times 10. Now, now the jaw is moving just a little bit. Let's make it move more, times 50. Okay. Now it's moving. We're moving. Times 100. Okay. There we go. We got some stuff going on. We got it. You got it. You're about to make something really cool looking with the microphone input, and we'll just keep on with these facer things.